Today, I want to check out something else by Sleep Token. Their song, Are You Really Okay? Let me start over. Y'all know we're all about music and psychology, and this is subjective to a degree. What I'm feeling right now, the way that this impacts me, is it sounds hopeful to a degree. The notes that are being used here, the guitar coming in softly, it makes me think lullaby, it makes me think comfort, it's soothing. And the notes that are being used here have a hopeful touch. It doesn't sound scary or depressing. They say that a lot of people decide within the first few seconds if they like a song or not and usually stick to that opinion as they continue listening. What does it make you feel? If you are familiar with this song, when you first heard that song, what were your initial thoughts? It's a catchy chord progression.
I raised you in the dark, caught you reading by the sunrise.
His voice is epic.
You wandered from the path through the silence of the hillside. Don't you know I could see it in you even then?
It was absolutely amazing. This is the kind of rock that I dig. This is the kind of rock that used to listen to. I mean, I've gotten more into metal through this channel and exploring different types of rock, and that's been really awesome to expand my horizon. But this goes very well with what I love listening to. It gets heavier and heavier on the rock, that crescendo, the build, but there's a lot of melody, profound lyrics. You can understand what he's singing. This is my type of stuff. His voice, Sleep Token's voice is just flippin' amazing. The texture, the depth, that rasp, the ooh, I like describing voices and comparing them to things using similes or just finding things that I can reference, right? I mean, from velvet to whiskey to some oak. His voice is hard to pinpoint, though. It's so full. It sounds so full and rich. His range is phenomenal, right? There's a lot of breath control if we're speaking technicalities and skill levels as a vocalist. But from the feeling, right? It's this. What could I compare it to? I don't even know, man. It's just I'm thinking of like strong animals like bears and lions, but I'm thinking of majestic things like a big oak tree, like something majestic and strong. But there's still such a level of comfort. I love the hook. Da 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 da. Super catchy. The notes, the chord progression, that build when the drums came in heavier, and it just got harder and heavier. Amazing from a musical composition standpoint, fun to listen to. I mean, I this is one of those songs I can just see myself driving down the road, just listening to and enjoying and getting lost in from a musical compositional standpoint. But emotionally, it's also so fitting when we're talking about asking someone if they're okay, when we're talking about suicide and death and self-harm. That build up going from something that sounded hopeful at first and calming, maybe almost like a lullaby, lyrically fitting. I thought of lullaby, and then I heard words like "I raised you in the dark," right? So, not that that's what it's about, raising a child, but it just fits to the feeling, something growing, something coming up, okay? And then that crescendo, that build up when the drums came in heavier, also fitting psychologically because we're talking about self harm, pain, suffering, depression, mental health. Things increase in intensity when we talk about those things. When someone's struggling and hurting, it's not linear. Grief is not linear. Pain is not linear. And when things are intense, they climax. Things get heavier, right? Fights get louder. Emotions get stronger. The cuts get deeper. So the composition psychologically fit with that as well. The lyrics are powerful, and I just took a couple of notes. I raised you in the dark, caught you reading by the sunrise. That's so poetic and beautiful. Raising you in the dark made me think first, as this says about a child, right? Someone you raised. I raised you in the dark. Could this be a reference to, when we grow a child in our womb, right? In the dark, a child, someone that we have close to our heart, that we care about deeply, caught you reading by the sunrise. You wandered from the path through the silence of the hillside. So poetic, very profound. This parallel between the dark and the sunrise fits to me with mental health when we're talking about what we want for others, which is life and thriving and fullness, compared to darkness, depression, and mental struggles. And yet it's such a part of life, both the dark and the sunrise. Children being born, coming from that dark womb into the world, wandering from that path, people walking away from what we wanted for them or where we hoped they would go, through the silence of the hillside. And don't you know, I could see it in you even then. That parallel between even then and later on in the lyrics saying, I can see it in you now. Right? There's that is poetic and literary, from a literary standpoint, a very neat contrast. To word it like that. And don't you know, I was trying to hold back the darkness. To me, made me think of depression, trying to spare people from suicide, from self-harm, from their pain and suffering. And are you really okay? That hook is so catchy. And those 4 words, are you really okay, are so profound, because that's what many of us long to just be asked. Not, hey, how are you? And, then I'm fine. And we keep moving on with life. Someone genuinely caring. Are you really okay? Asking those words, truly giving someone the space to speak is so powerful. You woke me up one night dripping crimson on the carpet, right? That reference to blood, crimson being blood. I saw it in your eyes, cutting deeper than the scars could run. That reference to self-harm, someone cutting themselves, hurting themselves, crimson dripping on the carpet. And that too is poetic and well worded to say cutting deeper than the scars could run. When it comes to self-harm, sometimes people are truly trying to harm themselves and work towards ending their life, towards suicide. But when it comes to self-harm, sometimes it's not always because they want to die, but because they want to feel alive, because they want to feel something, because they feel numb from the pain of their mental illness and the emotional trauma and the abuse that they're experiencing. Various causes for various people. But that poetic way of describing so accurately that those scars run so deep, cutting deeper than the scars could run. Those scars are so deep, it's something that we have a hard time putting in words. And so you want to feel something, so you cut deeper than the scars, right? It could be interpreted different ways, but when it comes to self-harm, when it comes to mental health, oftentimes it's this desire to feel alive, or this plea to feel something because you feel numb, or this desire to physically feel what your heart is experiencing, what your mind is going through, that turmoil, right? Maybe sometimes this desire to also see it, because you can't put in words what's going on in your mind when you feel like you're going crazy and you can't express the emotional and mental pain. It's this outlet to feel it physically. And it's very well worded, very accurate when it comes to self-harm. Don't you know I can see it in you even now? And don't you know I want to help you, but I don't know how? And this honest statement I find very powerful and also necessary when it comes to trying to help a loved one, when it comes to people needing therapy. Being honest and saying, I don't know how to help you. When it comes to people struggling with death, with pain, with grief, a lot of times because it's uncomfortable, people remove themselves. When someone is grieving, right? Sometimes people don't want to mention the lost person, or the person that died, because we don't want to upset the other, or we feel helpless, and so we'd rather not talk about it. But let me tell you, it's so important to stick around. Simply being there for someone and asking, are you really okay? Being present with them, being honest about, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do. Sometimes I feel like that's even more powerful than giving well meant but empty words of comfort, right? What is that going to do? It doesn't bring the dead person back. It doesn't take away that pain. But being honest, starting the conversation and saying, I don't know how to help you. Are you okay? Are you really okay? I cannot fix your wounds this time. And that also is a very accurate statement. When it comes to these things, first of all, family and friends can't be the therapist. We're too subjective. We're too close to the situation. There needs to be professional help and therapy and counseling, sometimes medication, a system, a support system. So there's, on one hand, an honest statement here that says, I cannot fix it. But also, to me, this statement, this lyric implies that this person may have actually committed suicide, because the other is now saying, I can't fix it this time. You know, that other person went too far. Maybe they ended their life for good. And so the lyrics implying, perhaps, I can't fix it this time. There's no going back. I don't believe you when you say you're fine. Sometimes that is also a necessary part of the conversation, saying you're not okay. What you're doing is not healthy, right? It's hard to deal with that. It's hard to full on face suffering because of our own existential fears, our own death anxieties, our own desire to keep living, our own struggle with the vast, profound topic that is death, right? That is so hard to grasp. We'd rather avoid those uncomfortable topics, but it's necessary to start that conversation, to ask genuinely and sincerely, are you okay? So if you know someone who's hurting, ask them. Encourage them to get help. Sit with them in that suffering if you can. And if you can't, for whatever reason, then go get help. You know, you don't have to fight this alone. And if you're the one hurting, let me ask you, are you really okay? And I know you're behind a screen. I'm behind a screen. We can't have a personal one-on-one conversation. But I plead with you to choose life and to dare to ask for help, to go get help today. Call somebody, reach out. There are many organizations, many ways to get help. Help is out there, and it's not always easily accessible, but your life is worth living. And there's better ways to be alive than to cut deeper than the scars run. And healing is possible. I tell you this as someone who has seen death, who's lost loved ones. I tell you this as someone who has hurt herself in deep, painful seasons of my life. Hope and healing is possible. Recovery is possible. I hope you guys know that you're loved today. Choose life. It was awesome to check this out. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next ride. Ayo!